There are questions that shatter worlds, and Abeni Walker asked one on a humid Virginia night in 1703. She stepped from the shadows of Nathaniel Hawthorne's gallery, not to beg, but to negotiate her own fate with 3 words that should never have left her lips. He was a man who believed order could be purchased, that power made him untouchable, that mercy was a luxury he dispensed at will. But when she looked him in the eye and asked, "Can you buy me?" Steady, unflinching, impossible, something cracked in the foundation of everything he knew. What begins as protection becomes obsession. What starts as survival becomes choice. And in a place where love between them could destroy them both, they'll learn that freedom has a price no ledger can calculate. If this story grips you, subscribe and tell me where you're watching from. Dawn broke gray over the tobacco fields. Nathaniel Hawthorne stood on the whitewashed gallery, watching the line of workers move toward the rows. His gaze swept the land with practiced efficiency. Every person had a place. Every task had a purpose. "Morning tasks by 6, he called. His voice was firm. The overseer, Isaac Reed, approached from the quarters. "All accounted for, Mr. Hawthorne," Reed said. Nathaniel nodded. He felt satisfied. A young woman moved past carrying linens toward the house. Her movements were precise. Nathaniel had seen her before. Abeni. She kept her eyes down. She never spoke unless addressed. Reed watched her, too. Something shifted in his expression. "That one works well enough," Reed said. "Might fetch good price down south." Nathaniel's chest tightened. He said nothing. That evening, Sarah Bell approached him in the hall. Her hands trembled. "Mr. Hawthorne, sir," she said. "There's talk." "What talk?" he asked. "About selling. About Abeni." Sarah's voice was quiet. Nathaniel felt something cold settle in his stomach. He dismissed Sarah. He poured whiskey in his study. The ledgers lay open. Numbers told him everything he needed. But tonight, numbers felt insufficient. He heard voices outside, whispers about sale discussions. Morning light barely reached the quarters. Abeni sat on her pallet, hands folded. Old Jonah stood in the doorway. His face was grave. "They're talking about sending you south," he said. Abeni's breath caught. She kept her face still. "When?" she asked. "Soon. Reed's been asking prices." Jonah's eyes found hers. Fear moved through her body. She knew what south meant. She knew it meant further from anything familiar, further from any chance. "Thank you for telling me," she said. Jonah nodded. He left quietly. Abeni stood. She smoothed her skirt. Her hands were steady. Inside, her mind worked through possibilities. There were few. There were almost none. She carried water to the kitchen. She scrubbed floors. She spoke when spoken to. Every movement was deliberate. Every action was controlled. Sarah watched her with worried eyes. "You heard?" Sarah whispered. "I heard," Abeni said. "What will you do?" Abeni's jaw tightened. She thought of the manor. She thought of Nathaniel Hawthorne's cold authority. He owned everything here. He decided everything. Perhaps that included her fate. She must approach him herself. Evening shadows stretched across the gallery. Nathaniel sat reviewing crop yields. Candles flickered. The house was quiet. Footsteps sounded behind him. He turned. Abeni stood 3 paces away. Her posture was straight. Her eyes met his directly. Nathaniel felt surprise. "What is it?" he asked. "Sir, I need to speak," she said. Her voice was calm. "Speak, then." Abeni's hands were still at her sides. "I've heard talk of being sold," she said. "Sent south." Nathaniel said nothing. His throat tightened. "I'm asking you something," Abeni said. "Can you buy me yourself? Can you keep me here?" The words landed between them. Nathaniel's chest constricted. He had expected pleading. He had expected tears. Instead, she stood with quiet composure. "You're asking me to purchase you?" he said. "Yes, sir." "Why would I do that?" "Because I work well. Because I cause no trouble." Her eyes never left his. "Because you could." Nathaniel felt something shift in his understanding. This was not begging. This was negotiation. From someone with no power. His breath caught. He could not speak. The silence stretched. Benny waited. She did not fill the quiet. He gave no answer. Dawn came too early. Nathaniel sat in his study, untouched coffee cooling. Sleep had not come. Benny's question circled his mind. His late wife's voice echoed. Margaret had spoken quietly about mercy, about seeing people fully. He had dismissed it then. Now her words returned. He felt anger at the disruption. He felt something else he could not name. "It's practical," he said aloud. "Good workers should be retained." The justification felt thin. He called for Reed. The overseer arrived smelling of tobacco. "Abeni will move to full house service," Nathaniel said. "No sale discussions." Reed's eyes narrowed. "Sir, she'd bring excellent—" "The matter is closed." Nathaniel's voice was steel. Reed nodded slowly. Something shifted in his expression. "As you say, Mr. Hawthorne." When Reed left, Nathaniel poured fresh coffee. His hands were not entirely steady. He told himself it was business sense. He told himself it was maintaining household order. He did not examine why her composure had unsettled him. Isaac Reed noticed the change. Afternoon heat pressed through the kitchen windows. Abeni moved through house duties. She carried trays, she served meals, she worked in closer proximity to Nathaniel now. She showed no gratitude, no relief, just steady competence. Nathaniel found this disconcerting. He wanted acknowledgement. He wanted recognition of his mercy. She gave him nothing. At dinner, she placed dishes before him. Their eyes met briefly. Hers were unreadable. "You're settling into house. Work?" he asked. "Yes, sir," she said. Nothing more. She stepped back. Reed entered from the hall. He watched the exchange. His jaw tightened. "Mr. Hawthorne, might I speak with you?" Reed asked. "Later," Nathaniel said. Reed's voice was tight. "It concerns household arrangements." "Later," Nathaniel repeated. After the meal, Reed cornered him on the veranda. "You're changing things," Reed said. "I'm managing my household." "You're treating her different." Reed's eyes were hard. "People notice." Nathaniel felt defensive. "She works well." "Others work well too." Reed leaned closer. "You'll soften the order of things." Evening brought Nathaniel to Clara Mayfield's parlor. The widow poured tea with practiced grace. Candlelight softened her features. "You've seemed distant lately," Clara said. Her voice was warm. "Business occupies my mind," Nathaniel said. "Perhaps you need other occupations." She smiled. "A man alone too long grows strange." Nathaniel understood her meaning. Clara was suggesting remarriage to herself. It would be easy, comfortable, expected. "I'm not ready for such considerations," he said. "It's been 3 years since Margaret passed." Clara's hand touched his arm. "Society expects you to move forward." He nodded absently. But his thoughts wandered. He saw Abeni's steady gaze, her refusal to show gratitude, her dignity that required nothing from him. Clara watched him carefully. Something shifted in her expression. "Who has unsettled you?" she asked. Late night found the house quiet. Nathaniel stepped onto the veranda for air. He heard scrubbing sounds from the hall. He followed them. Abeni knelt on the floor, brush moving in steady circles. The hour was far past dusk. "What are you doing?" he asked. She looked up. "Working, sir." "It's too late for this." There's always more work. Her voice was neutral. Nathaniel felt frustration. I'm ordering you to stop. Ebony sat back on her heels. She studied him. Stopping is never free here, sir. The words landed like stones. Nathaniel's throat tightened. She was right. Rest was not hers to claim. Sleep was not guaranteed. Nothing was hers. He had given that order. The gesture meant nothing if she could not truly rest. Go to your quarters, he said quietly. She stood. She gathered her supplies. She left without another word. Nathaniel remained in the hall alone. Her words echoed. Pre-dawn darkness covered the grounds. Nathaniel woke to raised voices. He dressed quickly. He moved toward the commotion. Reed stood near the quarters, voice sharp. I don't care about reassignments. I need to know why. Old Jonah stood silent. Sarah's eyes were wide with fear. Nathaniel approached. What's happening? He asked. Reed turned. I'm questioning these unusual arrangements, sir. Ebony's reassignment, the special treatment. My household management is not your concern. It becomes my concern when it disrupts order. Reed's voice was hard. Other. Workers watched from the shadows, eyes turned toward them. Nathaniel felt something crystallize. He had protected Ebony quietly. Now protection required witness. Step back, Reed, Nathaniel said. His voice was low. Now. Reed's jaw tightened, but he stepped back. Nathaniel held his gaze. The moment stretched. Then Reed walked away. The workers remained. They had seen. They had heard. Power had shifted dangerously. Morning brought whispers. Nathaniel heard them in the tobacco rows. He heard them in the kitchen. Workers exchanged glances when he passed. Sarah approached him carefully. Sir, people are talking, she said. Let them talk, Nathaniel said. But he felt the shift. His authority had always been absolute. Now it warped into something unfamiliar. Fear alone no longer held them. Ebony moved through her duties with the same quiet precision. She did not acknowledge the whispers. She did not meet his eyes more than necessary. Nathaniel found himself watching her, observing how she carried herself, how she moved through spaces as if claiming nothing, yet claiming everything in her dignity. Reed stood in the doorway. He was watching too. His eyes were cold. The men are restless, Reed said. Why? Nathaniel asked. They see favoritism. They see weakness. Reed's voice was flat. They see a man losing his grip. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. My grip is firm. Is it? Reed smiled slightly. Then why does one girl change everything? Nathaniel had no answer. Reed left. The question remained. In the quarters that evening, old Jonah spoke quietly. The overseer's watching her close now. Ebony felt fear, but she kept working. Reed was watching them both. Midday heat shimmered over the general store. Nathaniel negotiated supplies with the merchant. Other landowners gathered near the counter. Heard you had some trouble with your overseer, one said. Nathaniel's chest tightened. No trouble. That's not what people say. The man's eyes were sharp. They say you're going soft. My business is my own, Nathaniel said. The merchant wrapped packages slowly. His voice was careful. Folk are watching, Mr. Hawthorne. The way you manage things matters to all of us. Nathaniel felt the weight of scrutiny. His choices no longer affected only his household. They affected the entire system. Colonel Thomas Vale stood near the doorway. He was silent, but his eyes tracked every word. Nathaniel completed his purchases. He left quickly. Outside, Vale approached. Mr. Hawthorne, he said, I hope your affairs remain orderly. They do, Nathaniel said. Good. Vale's voice was steel wrapped in politeness. The colony requires stability. Disruption spreads. Nathaniel understood the warning. Vale represented colonial authority. His interest meant official scrutiny. He mounted his horse. Vale watched him go. Colonial eyes were now on him. Night settled heavy over the quarters. Abeni heard crying from the adjacent room. She found a young girl huddled in the corner. Fresh welts marked her back. "Who did this?" Abeni whispered. "Mr. Reed," the girl sobbed. "I spilled water on his boots." Abeni felt rage. She dampened cloth. She cleaned the wounds gently. The girl flinched. "You're safe now," Abeni said. Outside, footsteps approached. Nathaniel had come to check something in the stores. He heard voices. He moved closer. Through the thin walls, he heard Reed's laughter from earlier. Heard him bragging about teaching respect, about using the lash freely. Nathaniel's breath caught. He had known Reed was harsh, but he had not heard the cruelty directly, had not faced the sound of it. His hands tightened. He gripped the doorframe. Something in him wanted to burst through, to demand explanation, but he stood frozen, unable to act, unable to leave. Inside, Abeni sang softly to the girl. Her voice was low, comforting. Nathaniel listened to both sounds. Violence and tenderness, both existed because of him. He did not intervene yet. Dawn broke cold. Nathaniel found Reed near the stable. His voice was quiet, steel-edged. "I heard about the girl," Nathaniel said. Reed turned. "Which girl?" "The one you whipped for spilling water." Reed shrugged. "Discipline is necessary. You know that." "Discipline, yes. Cruelty, no." Nathaniel's jaw was tight. "You never cared before." Reed's eyes narrowed. "What changed?" Nathaniel felt something in his chest constrict. "My tolerance for waste changed. Injured workers can't work." "That's not why you care." Reed stepped closer. He smiled. It was not friendly. "You care because she cares." "Who?" Nathaniel asked. "Abeni." Reed said her name slowly. "You think I don't see? You think nobody sees?" Nathaniel's throat tightened. "You're out of line." "Am I?" Reed's voice dropped. "Or are you?" The silence stretched. Dangerous. Charged. "Control yourself," Nathaniel said, "or leave my employment." Reed laughed softly. "Fire me? That would look interesting, wouldn't it?" He leaned in. "I know why Abeni was protected." Late afternoon sun slanted through the trees. Nathaniel found Abeni near the field perimeter. She was mending fabric, alone. He approached carefully. "May I speak with you?" he asked. She looked up. Her eyes were wary. "Sir?" "Not as—" he struggled. "Not in official capacity." Abeni set down her needle. She waited. Nathaniel sat on a nearby stump. The gesture felt absurd, improper, yet necessary. "Where did you come from?" he asked. "Before here." "Does it matter?" Her voice was flat. "It matters to me." Abeni's eyes found his. "Why? So you can feel better about owning me?" Nathaniel felt the words hit. "No," he said, "because I want to know. You don't get to just want things from me." She picked up her mending again. "I came from a ship. Before that, from land you wouldn't know. Before that, from a family I'll never see." Her voice was controlled, but pain moved beneath it. "I'm sorry," Nathaniel said. "Sorry doesn't return anything." Abeni's hands were steady on the fabric. "You want my story, so you can understand me. You don't want my truth." Rain hammered the manor roof. Nathaniel stood in the dining hall. Workers brought in the afternoon meal. One man stumbled. He nearly fell. Reed was behind him instantly. "Clumsy fool!" Reed shouted. The man tried to stand. Reed shoved him down. "Enough," Nathaniel said. Reed ignored him. He raised his hand. "I said enough. Nathaniel's voice was thunder. The hall went silent. Everyone turned. Sarah's breath caught. Old Jonah stood frozen. Reed lowered his hand slowly. "Sir, he needs correction. He needs rest." Nathaniel's voice was hard. "He's sick. Can't you see? I see weakness. You see what I tell you to see." Nathaniel stepped forward. "You will not strike another person in this house. Do you understand?" Reed's jaw worked. His eyes promised violence. "Yes, sir." The workers watched. Nathaniel had defended one of them, publicly, without equivocation. The household had witnessed a shift. Reed's eyes promised retaliation. Evening found Nathaniel in his study. Candlelight flickered over documents, manumission papers, freedom documents. He could sign them, grant Abeni freedom quietly, send her away with papers and a small sum. It would solve everything. Remove the temptation. Remove the scrutiny. Footsteps in the hall. Abeni passed the doorway. She saw the papers. She stopped. "What are those?" she asked. Nathaniel looked up. "Freedom papers." Her breath caught. "For who?" "For you, if you want them." Abeni stepped into the room. She looked at the documents. Something shifted in her expression. "Signed quietly?" she asked. "Given in secret?" "Yes." "No." Her voice was firm. Nathaniel felt confusion. "You don't want freedom?" "I want freedom that's real." Abeni's eyes were fierce. "Freedom given quiet is never safe. It can be taken back. It can be challenged. It means nothing. It means you could leave. It means I'd be hunted." She turned away. "Keep your half-freedom." Nathaniel felt something break in his chest. "What do you want?" he asked. "What I'll never have." She left. Midday sun blazed over the courtyard. Nathaniel reviewed accounts. Sarah ran in. Her face was panicked. "Sir, there's trouble," she said. "What trouble?" "Mr. Reed found silver missing. He says Abeni took it." Nathaniel's blood went cold. He followed Sarah outside. Reed stood with two workers. Abeni stood separate, calm. But Nathaniel saw fear in her eyes. "I found this in her quarters," Reed said. He held up a small silver spoon. "I didn't take that," Abeni said. Her voice was steady. "It was in your possession." Reed smiled. "That's theft." Nathaniel's mind raced. This was a trap. Reed had planted evidence, but proving it meant calling his overseer a liar publicly. "She wouldn't steal," Nathaniel said. "How do you know?" Reed's eyes were sharp. "Because she's special to you?" The workers watched. The implication hung heavy. "I know because I trust her," Nathaniel said. Reed laughed. "Your trust means legal trouble for you both." Abeni's eyes met Nathaniel's. She saw the cost. She saw what defending her meant. She drew away, physically, emotionally. She realized protection came with a price. Dawn brought hoofbeats. Colonel Vale arrived with two men, official business. Nathaniel met them at the gate. "Mr. Hawthorne," Vale said, "I'm here regarding accusations of theft and improper household management." Nathaniel's chest tightened. "The theft accusation is false." "That's for me to determine." Vale's voice was cold. "I'll need to question your people." Reed stood nearby. He looked satisfied. Vale moved through the household. He questioned workers. He examined the quarters. He recorded everything in a leather journal. Abeni stood with Sarah. Her hands were still. But Nathaniel saw fear in her eyes. "Miss Walker," Vale said, "you're accused of theft." "I took nothing, sir," Abeni said. "The evidence suggests otherwise." Vale looked at Nathaniel. "Your master's defense of you raises questions." Nathaniel felt anger. "I defend truth." "Do you?" Vale's eyes were sharp. "Or do you defend something else?" The implication was clear. The air grew heavy. Reed stepped forward. "Sir, if I may." Mr. Hawthorne has shown unusual favoritism. It's disrupted proper order. Vale nodded slowly. He closed his journal. I'll return with my findings, Vale said. Both of you should prepare for consequences. Abeni felt despair. She had ruined him. Reed smirked with confidence. Night fell heavy over the quarters. Abeni sat on her pallet. Sarah entered quietly. What will you do? Sarah whispered. I have to leave, Abeni said. Leave? That's madness. They'll hunt you. Sarah's voice was urgent. I've destroyed him. Abeni felt tears threaten. If I'm gone, he can claim I fled. The suspicion ends. It won't end. It'll make things worse. Abeni shook her head. I can't stay and watch him lose everything. She had a small cloth bundle. Bread she'd saved. A knife from the kitchen. Not much, but enough to try. Old Jonah appeared in the doorway. You planning something foolish? He asked. I'm planning survival, Abeni said. Survival is staying alive, child. Not running into death. His eyes were sad. You leave here, they'll bring you back in pieces. Then pieces is what I'll be. Abeni stood. Better than watching him destroyed for defending me. Sarah grabbed her arm. He chose to defend you. He chose wrong. Abeni's voice broke. And I can't let him pay for it. She packed in silence. Early morning mist covered the river. Abeni moved through the trees. Her breath was quick. Her heart pounded. She heard hoofbeats behind her. Nathaniel appeared through the fog. He dismounted. He ran toward her. Abeni, stop! He called. She turned. Her eyes were fierce. Go back. I can't. He approached slowly. Please, don't do this. I'm doing what I should have done before. She stepped back. Removing myself from your life. You think leaving solves anything? Nathaniel's voice was raw. They'll hunt you. They'll kill you. Better that than watching you ruined. Nathaniel felt something break in him. I don't care about ruin. You should. Abeni's hands trembled. You have everything to lose. I've already lost everything that mattered. He moved closer. Don't you understand? I can't go back to what I was. You have to. I can't. His voice dropped. He was begging, not commanding. Please, come back. Abeni looked at him, saw desperation, saw truth, saw a man stripped of pride, but begging wasn't enough. Begging doesn't undo chains, she said. Dusk settled over the plantation steps. Colonel Vale returned. His face was grave. Nathaniel stood waiting. Workers gathered at a distance. Sarah held old Jonah's arm. Reed stood with crossed arms. Vale unrolled a document. Mr. Hawthorne, I've completed my investigation. Nathaniel felt his throat tighten. The evidence suggests improper relations with enslaved property, disruption of colonial order, undermining established hierarchy. Vale's voice was formal. These are serious charges. They're false, Nathaniel said. Are they? Vale looked at him. You've shown unusual favoritism. You've publicly contradicted your overseer. You've defended an accused thief. I've defended an innocent person. That's not for you to decide alone. Vale's jaw was tight. Your actions threaten stability. They set dangerous precedent. Reed stepped forward. Sir, I have additional testimony about private conversations, about special treatment. Nathaniel felt rage, but also helplessness. Abeni stood near the kitchen door. She was listening. She heard everything, heard her existence named as crime, heard Nathaniel's life dismantled. Vale rolled the document. You'll face formal charges, possible loss of land, possible criminal prosecution. Sarah gasped. Old Jonah's eyes closed. Abeni felt hope die. Everything was lost. The world stood against them. The courthouse hall was packed. Landowners filled the benches. Colonel Vale sat at the central table. Nathaniel stood before them. Reed was the first witness. Mr. Hawthorne showed favoritism toward Abeni Walker. He reassigned her, defended her, behaved improperly. Improperly how? Vale asked. He treated her as if she were equal. Reed's voice was hard. Murmurs filled the room. Nathaniel felt their judgment. Mr. Hawthorne, how do you respond? Vale asked. Nathaniel stood. His voice was clear. I treated her as human. The room exploded in noise. Vale called for silence. That's not the question, Vale said. It's the only question. Nathaniel stepped forward. I've lived 42 years upholding a system I never questioned, until I was forced to see it. See what? Vale asked. The truth. Nathaniel's jaw was tight. That everything I built was built on suffering, that my comfort required cruelty. Reed stood. This is madness. No. Nathaniel turned to face everyone. Madness is calling evil good. I publicly denounce Isaac Reed for his brutality. I place my land and funds toward legal manumission for Abeni Walker. The room erupted. Chairs scraped. Voices shouted. Vale's face was stone. You'll lose everything. Then I lose everything. Nathaniel's voice was steady. Reed's face twisted. You're a fool and a traitor. The Colonial Assembly chamber was cold. Nathaniel stood before the council. Vale presided. Other officials flanked him. Mr. Hawthorne, you're requesting legal manumission for Abeni Walker, Vale said. Yes, sir. And you understand this requires financial guarantee, proof of her ability to support herself? Vale's eyes were hard. I'm transferring deed to 10 acres and operational funds. Nathaniel's voice was firm. Gasps echoed through the chamber. That's nearly half your holding, Vale said. Yes. You'll have no authority, no standing. You'll be stripped of power. Vale leaned forward. Is this woman worth that? Nathaniel felt something settle in his chest. Peace. Certainty. She's worth more than land, he said. She's worth the truth. Vale studied him. You realize this changes nothing for the system. One freed person doesn't end anything. No. Nathaniel met his eyes. But it ends my participation in it. Vale was silent. Then he nodded slowly. Your petition is granted. At great personal cost. Vale's voice was cold. You're no longer a landowner of standing. Your social position is forfeit. Outside the chamber, Abeni listened. She had come unseen. She heard everything. She heard him sacrifice his world for her freedom. Morning light washed over the plantation gate. Abeni stood with a small traveling bag. She wore a simple dress. Free papers were tucked in her pocket. She was legally free now. She had work arranged with freed laborers in town. A new life. Her own life. Nathaniel stood on the gallery. His house was smaller now, most rooms empty, most land sold. Reed was long gone. He watched Abeni prepare to leave. She turned. Their eyes met across the distance. You don't have to go, he said quietly. I do. Her voice was gentle. I need to know what freedom feels like. Without you. Without this place. Nathaniel nodded. He understood. Freedom wasn't real if she stayed from obligation, or gratitude, or fear. Will I see you again? He asked. I don't know. Abeni's eyes were honest. Maybe, if I choose to come back. Choice is everything, Nathaniel said. Yes. She smiled slightly. It is. Old Jonah stood nearby. Sarah waved from the kitchen. Both were staying. Both had their own arrangements now. Abeni walked through the gate. She did not look back immediately. Nathaniel watched her go. He felt grief, but also rightness. She was leaving freely. That mattered more than his loneliness. He turned back alone. The small-town churchyard was quiet. Spring flowers bloomed around simple headstones. Nathaniel stood near his wife's grave. He visited monthly now. He no longer owned land. He worked as a clerk. He lived in a modest room. His name carried no weight, but his conscience was clear. Footsteps sounded on the path. He turned. Abeni stood at the gate. She wore a blue dress. Her hair was uncovered. Her bearing was different, confident, self-possessed. Nathaniel's breath caught. Abeni. Hello, Nathaniel. She used his first name. No, sir, no master. He walked toward her, slowly, uncertain. I didn't know if you'd come back, he said. I didn't either. She stepped closer. I needed time, to know who I was, without chains, without fear. And do you know now? Yes. Her eyes were clear. I know I'm my own person. I make my own choices. They stood facing each other. No longer owner and owned. No longer master and servant. Just two people. Under open sky. Why did you come back? Nathaniel asked. Because I wanted to. Abeni's voice was soft. Not because I needed to. Because I chose to. She extended her hand. Not in servitude. Not in desperation, indecision. Nathaniel took her hand. His throat was tight. I don't have anything to offer, he said. You have yourself. She smiled. That's enough. They stood together. Equal. Free. Choosing each other. Not from desperation, but from decision.